Congressman Joe Neguse is Democrat of Colorado, member of his party's leadership, and he joins me now. First of all, what do you think of the argument that you sold out the country yesterday in pursuit of petty political aims and had an opportunity to be the bigger man, I guess? I don't know what the argument is, and vote to keep Kevin McCarthy as your speaker?
Well, good evening, Chris. It's good to be with you. It's a nonsensical argument. I agree with your summation as to the decision-making that occurred over the course of the last couple of days. Let me just first say I think it's important as a just broad principle to state what has been made abundantly clear over the course of the last 9 months, which is that House Republicans are singularly focused on fighting each other, and House Democrats are focused on fighting for the American people, on delivering real results for working families across our country. Now, it's unfortunate that House Republicans chose a different path. That path of chaos and extremism and dysfunction has had real consequences for the American people. You outlined some of them. And of course, it culminated in the events of the last 24 hours. With respect to the particular argument that you're noting that, some Republicans have apparently are parroting and using it as an excuse over the last 24 hours, I think it is ludicrous on its face. The notion that Democrats are somehow responsible for electing a Republican speaker is unmoored from reality and from any kind of historical precedents. And by the way, Chris, of course, the American people understand that. They recognize that the majority party in the House selects the speaker because they watched in January when the Republican conference was in disarray, incapable of electing a speaker. And the only reason why that process concluded with the ascension of Speaker McCarthy is because he capitulated to every demand made by the extreme right wing of his caucus, including the rule change that you noted that enabled those same chaos agents to ultimately vacate the speaker's office. And that was a rule change that House Democrats voted against. So it's a crisis of their own making. It is emblematic of the dysfunction that they have brought to Washington, and it's unfortunate for the country.
The other thing in this, the guy named Aaron Frischner, who's a staffer who wrote this thread, one of the things that I thought did a really good job of explaining, too, is that this CR that they passed is a continuing resolution to keep the government open on the day. There was no communication. He's been promising the right everything. He suddenly pivots, throws this thing in your laps. Here's all the funding. You don't have 90 minutes, not even 90 minutes to read it. Vote for it or you've shut down the government and I need a 2/3 majority. That's the last thing he did before he got booted from being speaker. That was the last action of the guy that you're supposed to have any trust or good faith in.
Yeah, with one caveat, Chris, it was the second to last thing he did, because, of course, the last thing he did was following that vote in which the vast majority of Democrats, nearly 99% of our caucus, voted in favor of keeping the government open, notwithstanding that Republicans en masse voted against it. The speaker, former speaker, then went on television and attempted to blame Democrats for voting, I guess, apparently for voting for that bill. So I read that same Twitter thread that you referenced, and I thought it articulated well the numerous ways in which, unfortunately, the former speaker had, as I said, capitulated to the far right, had reneged on agreements that were made. But again, this is bigger than one person. It is emblematic of the extremism that has taken root in the House Republican Conference. That fundamentally, I think, is what's before the country now.
Yeah, and these are the 8. We should just put up the 8 Republicans that voted to oust him, that were sort of, running this operation. To your point about being bigger than one speaker, I don't want to get too in the weeds here, but I think it's just important for people to understand, tangibly the issue here. The government's going to need to be funded in 45 days because there's a continuing resolution passed for 45 days. There was a deal laid out at the debt ceiling for the House and the Senate for basically these kind of top-line budget numbers, for everyone to go back and pass appropriations that are in line with those numbers. That was the deal. We all watched it happen. We covered it. McCarthy met with Joe Biden. The Senate is doing that. They're basically going back and saying, okay, we got the ag bill, we got the defense bill, here's the top-line numbers. The Republicans want to renege on that deal. They want to rip up that deal. And so there will be another shutdown because they want to rip up the deal that they made to avoid the last shutdown. Am I right, or am I losing my mind?
Oh, no, look, the House Republicans have been on an island for quite some time now. You are right with respect to the deal that you mentioned, the Fiscal Responsibility Act. The impetus for that deal, just by way of background and context, I think for your viewers, is that the Republicans manufactured a crisis with respect to the debt ceiling. They brought us to the brink of a catastrophic default on our debt and then ultimately negotiated this agreement to avert that crisis they had created. And in a mere matter of weeks, Speaker McCarthy, former Speaker McCarthy, reneged on that very same deal. Senate Republicans have been working on a bipartisan basis with Senate Democrats, and the president, of course, is supportive of the agreement that he reached. But again, it's consistent with the way in which the House Republican Conference has chosen to govern, which, or lack thereof, I suppose. These are not serious people. It's not a serious party. They are not prepared to govern. The American people see that. And unfortunately, if past is prologue, I think that we're in for some choppy waters ahead. I'm hopeful that some Republicans in that conference will walk away from the extreme MAGA, sort of element in the caucus that has metastasized and work with us to find a bipartisan path forward, again, supporting our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, who has led our conference and the country with unity and with vision and I think strategic brilliance of really trying to deliver results to the American people. But, time will tell.
Yeah, I think choppy waters is apt. And again, we're going to be in the same place. Like, it doesn't matter who they get. They could, they could vote for the Hamburglar for Speaker. It doesn't matter. It's going to be the same problem. Congressman Joe Neguse. Always try to get you to smile and laugh before we leave. I succeeded today. Thank you, Congressman.
Always good to be with you, Chris. You too.